Ladies and gentlemen, now let me greet you first in Hungarian. It was that mean and Magyar Baratosnak. The title of our panel, the title of this session is Fight Club. I don't know who of you watched the movie, what the film Fight Club, but the first rule of the Fight Club. We are going to break this rule because as far as the globalism versus sovereign countries, sovereign states, this very issue is concerned, we have to speak up loudly and clearly. So we will be breaking this rule. Sovereignty matters, borders matter, identity matters, and common sense matters. Hyperglobalism is finally dead. Welcome to the era of regional resilience. Europe faces many threats, but the greatest challenges, probably the greatest challenge for Europe, for the European system, is Europe itself. Europe which suffocates free speech, which punishes innovation and weakens our defense. And basically, we have to deal with those internal issues before we really will be able to address the external problems, the external ones, like Russia, like illegal migration and distribution of illegal migration, like the expansion of the world of Islam or China. Let me now outline these new structures of global capitalism after the recent changes, very briefly. Protectionism is no longer a dirty word. It's a kind of rule, it's a kind of new name of the game, with China subsidizing everything and protecting its market for the last 20-30 years on the back of the transatlantic world. But quite recently also, the tariffs imposed by President Trump also mark the era of protectionism. So the gap between the global north and the global south is also deepening. What seems to be the end of the globalization era in the global north means the dawn of new globalization for the global south, but with China as the main guarantor, partner, and sponsor. So quite a change before our very eyes. The next element, next factor is the illegal migration. We probably face the biggest human migration in the history of humankind in those times. And it's worth noticing as well that global capitalism is mutating. Whether we discuss the platform capitalism like Robert Reich is saying, or surveillance capitalism, Shoshana Zuboff, or we talk about the new Middle Ages, one thing is certain. The platforms, digital platforms, gain at significance. And nation states, sovereign nation states, become weaker and weaker vis-a-vis those platforms, those international, multinational corporations. And we have to take this into account while discussing those very basic issues about globalism versus sovereign states. I dare to speak to you today, not just for Poland, but I believe I speak for many people, many nations, rediscovering this simple truth. Sovereignty is not a memory of the past. It is and it must be the key for the future. For 30 years we were told open borders, open markets, open society, open data. This is the only way going forward. And yes, it did bring some prosperity, but at the same time it brought a lot of new challenges. Open society, open borders, open data. You can imagine what kind of challenges there are. And Poland knows all too well what kind of threats and costs this era of last globalization brought with it. And I'm sure my Hungarian friends and friends from Czech Republic, from all the Central Europe, know this very well as well. But today the global system, once a fast highway, looks more like a fragile well. And supply chains are breaking, tech monopolies are on the rise, and geopolitical tensions gain momentum. So let's be honest, the global order as we know is over. The age of hyperglobalization is giving way to a new era, the era of regional resilience, the era of globalism, I believe, and I hope, is also over. Now we must choose, build real autonomy, real strategic autonomy, sovereignty based on sovereign states, or be reduced to actors in someone else's play. Globalization must be reconsidered. It doesn't mean we have to close, we go back to autarky. We have to reconsider the rules of globalization. We need fewer illusions and more balance, and fewer dependencies and more control. International institutions like the European Commission usurped huge powers into their hands, not given to them, not transferred to them in the Treaty of Rome and Treaty of Lisbon. They are taking those powers, utilizing the weakness of national states. The European Commission is sticking its nose everywhere. It's sticking its nose in the sovereign states, and they have no right to decide about many things, but they have been actually able to do so based on